how sorry we are for the family.
I'm so sorry that
we defended him.
Right? Like, we thought we were doing the right thing by being a good friend to him and Shanann.
We honestly thought that Tuesday morning
we would be with her.
We would be with her.
You thought maybe she just ran off.
We did.
Yeah. I mean, I thought maybe she just went to the hotel for a day or for the night and just to kind of cool off, but...
Did you think she was mad about something? Oh, because he said they'd had an argument.
Right, yeah.
What did he say it was over? Money? Selling the house?
No, it was just marital things, I think. But again, I don't know if that's part of the investigation.
Yeah, it's very
so. But yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing for me for wanting. Like we're so sorry. I did apologize to Shanann's mom today, just saying I'm sorry for the perspective we gave of you of us by being with Chris and defending Chris. Like I don't want them to be mad at us.
I want them to know that we love Shanann and those girls so much. And I can't imagine how they're feeling. There would be times when Nick would get so mad at me because I was always on the phone with Shanann. And I talked to her more than I talked to him.
You don't have those girlfriends we lean on.
She was my closest, best friend. She had more secrets about me than anybody.
Catherine, Dr. Condor says it's not unusual for people to make assumptions when watching an interview like the one with Chris Watts. And if you're an expert, those observations and nuances actually do mean something.
It's the interview that took place just some 24 hours before Chris Watts was charged with the murder of his wife and children.
I've never seen something like this in my lifetime.
Thousands have watched that interview, including Dr. Robert Condor, a neuropsychologist who's worked 14 capital murder cases, analyzing people accused of the most egregious crimes.
I'm interested in the criminal mind, and we're trying to figure out why people do violent things.
Together, we watched the uncut interview, Dr. Condor taking note of every inflection, movement, even skin tone to make an assessment.
I'm looking for how he presents himself, what his face looks like. You would imagine that a husband who doesn't know where his wife and two little girls are would be ashen-faced.
So what did he observe about Watts, and what does it mean, the crossed arms, the rocking?
It's like he's cradling himself, he's trying to soothe himself a little bit. And the rocking comes from soothing, it comes from infancy. That babies rock and hold themselves to feel better. He's trying to make himself feel better in this situation.
And his choice of words.
It's really stilted and sort of intellectualized. He's what we call isolation affect. He's cutting off his feelings and using these fancy words.
Even the nuances, the innocuous, are significant here.
That's a micro-expression. Looking up is a micro-expression. He's really not blinking a lot. He's really, we blink naturally, and he's trying to control a lot of stuff. And one of the things you do, control autonomic responses like blinking.
Ultimately, though,
I think he's really torn up and struggling with his conscience about this. And somebody who's going to come forward is going to be him.
And part of him coming to that conclusion that Watts is sort of had this internal struggle is that Dr. Condor says he did sense some remorse when it came to Watts answering questions about the two little girls, perhaps not his wife, but about those children. He said he sensed an authentic remorse in that video. Catherine.
Very interesting. Candace Sweat live in the newsroom. Candace.
What did you confess? Monday, I'll be making a determination with the attorneys in my office what formal charges we will file that we believe we can prove.
At this point, are they what is the secretary need?
I can tell you that we were in consultation with law enforcement on the charges that he was arrested on, and that's all it is.
Mr. North, you mentioned that the homicide took place in the home. Can you elaborate on this?
I can't say anything other than what I said before at this point.
How challenging the case is this for you and your office to prosecute?
It's still early on in the process. I don't have all the reports in my office yet. It's something that we're going to evaluate with law enforcement.
In depth.
What kind of case this is, obviously, opposite state, not the outcome of the morning.
Sure. We wish we had a different outcome. We wish we would have been able to locate them alive, and it simply was a missing persons case. Every homicide case that we deal with is a loss of life, and it's difficult for us and for law enforcement to deal with. Thank you.
Body language is so subjective. Is a person being unemotional? Are they too emotional? What are the signs? I spoke to a local body language expert, Tracy Brown, via FaceTime today. She says there were signs of deception from Chris Watts right away.
He rolled his lips back over his teeth a lot. You see his lips disappear, and that's a telltale for someone who knows more than what they're saying. When you go like that, and he does it a lot, there's more to say. So he clearly knew then. He was trying to hold back, and the whole thing unraveled on him when we got into interrogation.
I asked Tracy if she was surprised at how quickly Watts ended up confessing to the murders.
It did surprise me because with all my studies that I've done with law enforcement and the FBI, a lot of times it takes quite a bit of questioning, quite a bit of tightening the noose mentally on folks to get them to confess. And I've only seen very rare cases where people just melt down and can't handle it. And while I don't know how long the questioning was in this, it definitely came around very quickly.
And our state continues to show overwhelming love and support. Denver 7's Jennifer Kovaleski is live at the family home in Frederick. It's been a hard week, Jen.
Shannon and Teresa, this is a tough story to cover and one that's really taken a toll on this entire community as the memorial continues to grow here for this pregnant mom and her two little girls. I talked to a close family friend who knew the husband and the family, and he told me that they feel like they met the devil and can't believe that they believed his lies. The question everyone is still asking tonight, though, is why? The darkest moments often bring out the best in people.
Just kind of touched home. I got kids my own.
People who knew Shanann Watts and her two precious girls. People who never met them, but heard what happened and wanted to show support for those hurting.
As a mom, I can't imagine.
As the memorial continues to grow outside the family's home in Frederick, the investigation that led to this husband and father in handcuffs is far from over.
Mr. Watts, why did you kill your wife and two children?
High-ranking sources recently confirmed to me the girls' bodies were discovered inside oil and gas tanks owned by Anadarko, not far from where police say they recovered Shanann's body in Weld County. The husband, Christopher, worked for the oil and gas operator up until the day he was arrested. Meanwhile, Frederick police tell me they still have 2 or 3 days left of interviews. The Weld County District Attorney has until Monday to file formal charges against Chris. Well, the coroner now has the difficult task of conducting all 3 autopsies.
Peace and hope that they are where they're supposed to be and they're back with their mom. The girls are back with their mom and mom's with the girls.
Still a lot of emotion out here tonight. Now, I have been able to confirm that those 3 autopsies are taking place right now. And in just the last few hours, I did learn that Christopher Watts, the husband, is being held in isolation at the Weld County Jail due to all the publicity around this case. A case that people around the world and around the country are talking about.
Hey guys, I'm standing in the newsroom now waiting to do our 6 o'clock live shots. There's what it looks like. We've just received some new court documents here, and I want to get to these because they do have some new information for us. First of all, they explain that the mother's body was found in a shallow grave, and they suggest how the children may have been killed before they were put in those oil tanks. And let me kind of tell you a little bit about, these are court documents here where the defense is saying, hey, we want to have access to DNA right away. And one of the lines in the court documents says that DNA evidence would remain on the necks of the decedent children in spite of the fact that the remains were in oil for 4 days. We previously did not know how long those bodies had been in the oil. And then the DNA expert who wants access to DNA says, after samples are taken, the nails should be cut and preserved. This is from the victims. And then he says, I have a lot of experience taking samples from dead bodies, getting good results after strangulation. They do not say specifically that these kids were strangled, but it certainly points to that. We're going to continue to follow this, and I'll keep you updated the best I can.
Days have gone on this week. We all thought we had heard the worst of it, but new details are emerging late today about the defense of Chris Watts.
And Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen has been combing through court documents. And Jacqueline, the defense now wants to use a discredited DNA expert to examine these girls' bodies?
That's right. You know, when these court documents came out today, the expert's name looked all too familiar to us. We did a series of stories on him 2 years ago. Here's what we found.
As public defenders combed the Watts family home today, they also filed these court documents indicating Chris Watts' 2 daughters were strangled, their bodies found in an oil well filled with crude oil. The public defenders requesting DNA evidence from the necks of the children and the hands and nails of the mother. And what caught our attention, they named this man, Richard Eichenboom, as their DNA expert.
It depends, of course, if the tape was on the body.
Known for testifying at high-profile trials, here the Casey Anthony case. But 2 years ago, in a Denver courtroom, a judge ruled Eichenboom unqualified to testify as an expert witness after he admitted no direct DNA extraction or analysis experience.
We took one look at the work that he claimed he'd done, and it meant absolutely nothing. It was not scientifically based.
While Eichenboom and his wife defended themselves to Denver 7 then,
It's just untrue. The thing is, what they do, they play a game where they try to discredit you.
they would not comment on this case. But former DA Mitch Morrissey weighed in, saying, I would be shocked if the defense tried to use him in front of a jury after he has been discredited as an expert witness. What's clear is that even though sources tell Denver 7 Chris Watts gave a confession that led to the bodies, he does plan to mount a defense, and a tragedy that will continue to play out in court.
And the judge did deny the defense request, saying he's not going to tell the coroner how to do the investigation. Legal experts tell me this defense request is boilerplate so they can file appeals later and say mistakes were made. Reporting live, Jacqueline Allen, Denver 7.
Jacqueline, thank you. Investigators say they still have 2
Hendrickson, right now the memorial in front of a Frederick home is growing as people come to pay their respects to the pregnant mother and her 2 young daughters who were murdered.
As we've reported, the bodies of Shanann Watts, 4-year-old Bella, and 3-year-old Celeste were recovered yesterday. Denver 7 sources confirmed the father, Chris Watts, has confessed to their murders.
And today investigators are still trying to piece together what happened. Denver 7's Megan Lopez lays out the case so far.
Yeah, it's an investigation that the Frederick Police Department, CBI, and FBI have worked on tirelessly over the past few days. And despite the fact that Denver 7 sources confirmed that Chris Watts confessed to those murders, it will be up to the district attorney's office to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was involved.
It's a tragic end to 3 beautiful lives.
This is absolutely the worst possible outcome.
Frederick police confirming Shanann Watts, her 4-year-old daughter Bella, and 3-year-old daughter Celeste are all dead. Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant at the time.
We're dumbfounded. We don't get it.
Today, while detectives try to determine how all this happened,
You think this is the most impossible outcome that it could possibly be.
friends just want to know why.
It's just horrible.
It all started Monday morning. Shanann came home from a business trip in Arizona around 2 a.m. Then Chris Watts said the couple had,
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation.
and around 2 p.m.,
Just trying to pass out flyers relevant to the missing person.
Frederick police received their first missing persons call. It wasn't until Thursday that the bodies of Shanann, Bella, and Cece were all found, not too far from one another on Anadarko property. Denver 7 sources say the little girls were hidden inside of an oil tank. Chris Watts also appeared in court for the first time that day, going from concerned father in a Carolina Tar Heels shirt to a triple murder suspect in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. He'll appear in court again on Tuesday, but before that happens, the DA's office is expected to file formal charges on Monday. And tonight, family, friends, and the Frederick community will honor Shanann, Bella, and Cece, forever etched in these photos of happier times.
When you're closer with the family, it's the why. The why gets bigger.
And something else that we are waiting to happen for on Monday is for the district attorney's office and a judge to unseal that arrest affidavit for Chris Watts. In it, we could learn more about the possible motive and how the 3 died. In the newsroom, Megan Lopez, Denver 7. Denver 7.
And further complicating this case is the lack of a motive right now. According to family friends, everything seemed normal. Christopher Watts even took his 2 daughters to a birthday party on Sunday. Jeremy Lindstrom says his good friend seemed happy.
You know, the hardest part about it all is when you're closer with the family, it's the why. The why gets bigger.
Watts was on a business trip during the weekend, so she did not attend the party.
Christopher Watts' attorney filed 2 motions suggesting his 2 daughters were strangled.
Our Ryan Harrer went through those court documents, which request some specific DNA samples.
Investigators found Shanann's body on an Anadarko petroleum site not too far from the family home. They found the bodies of the 2 girls close by, and the motions filed today show the kids had been in a well filled with crude oil for several days. Christopher Watts' attorneys asked the court to make sure the pathologist took DNA samples of the girls' throats, suggesting they had been strangled. The public defender did not request DNA of Shanann's throat, but did ask for DNA of her hands and nails. The motion shares the recommendations of a DNA expert who says, quote, "I have a lot of experience taking samples from dead bodies, getting good results after strangulation." The defense also asked for DNA from the hands of the children.
So Rapice reported showing Watts back his pickup truck into the garage at 5 a.m. on Monday, just hours after Shanann got home from a business trip, filling the back of that truck with several large bags, including, Bill, a gas can. Bill?
So what happens next, William?
Well, police say they have the confession and now they have the physical evidence. 33-year-old Watts will likely be formally charged Monday with murder. Now, this is him in court after his bizarre arrest and this statement on Tuesday where he calmly had this message for his family.
Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, if you're out there, please just come home.
So hours later, police say Watts confessed, and yesterday police found his victims on a parcel of land just outside their small town of Frederick in northern Colorado.
The body of Miss Watts has been recovered. It was recovered basically in the south part of the county out in a open space in a field. Efforts are still ongoing to recover the other two missing persons.
So he is being held right now, Bill, without bail, and the DA has not decided yet on the death penalty.
Tonight, her daughters were killed in Colorado, and tonight her husband Chris is in jail charged with murder. Shanann's brother has been very vocal on Facebook since the murders. At first there was frustration, but now he's sharing a different side, expressing his love for his sister and her daughters. In a public Facebook post, Shanann's brother says he always looked up to her, and he remembers crying when she got her license and drove away to work. And he says even though he was her younger brother, he felt like he needed to protect her from the boys at school. He talks about how happy their family became when they found out Shanann beat all the odds and became pregnant the first time. He says he loved to make her laugh and have fun with her, and says he would give anything to talk to her again, to give her a hug. And in the last lines of the post, he says he wishes he could go back in time and be there to keep her sisters and niece safe from harm. And on Thursday, we told you about Watts' connection to our area.
Tonight, Sheena Elsie continues our coverage. And Sheena, what did you learn about Watts and her family today?
Well, as you know, we're more than 1,000 miles away from their Colorado home where she lived. But I've learned that people here are mourning, too, because this is the high school where Shanann Watts used to go. And a lot of old classmates or friends are still trying to make sense of it all.
I've known her for several years, though, and
to high school friend Elizabeth McDonald.
Just in shock, really.
Shanann Watts was just like what we've been seeing in all those pictures posted online. Pregnant and happy with her two babies, Bella and Celeste.
Mommy has a baby in her belly.
She just was so positive all the time, uplifting, just outgoing, sweet.
She says she'd stayed in touch with Shanann until she saw the news.
I have no inclination of where she is.
Earlier this week, Shanann's husband, Chris Watts, pleaded for help finding his pregnant wife and kids.
If somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody.
Less than 24 hours later, he was charged with their murders and allegedly confessed to the killings.
It just doesn't make sense.
News of what happened spread through Moore County from Shanann's high school in Southern Pines to Aberdeen, where her family worked.
It's tragic. Nobody should have to go through something like that. And from an Aberdeen standpoint, our hearts go out to the family.
A family, a community, now torn.
It's just really emotional, and you don't wish anything like that on anybody.
Now we're told family members who were here in Moore County have since gone to Colorado, but friends that are still left here have started a fundraiser for the family. So far, at last check, they've raised more than $60,000 for the family. Live in Moore County, Sheena Elsie, CBS 17 News.